Thank you, Father, for your amazing speech. You really enlightened the young generations, the real future of India. On behalf of them, I assure that they will definitely bring our society in a very good manner. Now, I request our senior advocate N.L. Rajah to felicitate the Attorney General and the new entrants. Sir, please.
Good evening, friends. Respected Mr. R. Venkatramani, Attorney General of India, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Venkatramani, actually, she holds a very unique qualification in the history of the office of the Attorney General. She is the only consort of an Attorney General who holds a qualification in law and has also been enrolled to practice law. This is the first time this has happened in the history of the office of the Attorney General. So I think that's very unique qualification that you hold, madam. Mr. R. Shanmugha Sundaram, Advocate General, Chairman, Bar Council of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, Mr. P.S. Amal Raj, my dear friends, Mr. Prabhakaran, Mr. Vidudalai, Mr. P.S. Raman, Father Xavier Arul Raj, Mr. K. Balu, Mr. C.K. Chandrasekhar, Mr. V. Karthikeyan, Mrs. Priscilla Pandian and Mr. D. Saravanan. It gives me enough and great pleasure to be part of this function to felicitate Mr. Venkatramani. The Government of India, I must say, did itself proud by appointing Mr. R. Venkatramani as the 16th Attorney General for India, for he is one person who can be relied on to function truly as a constitutional functionary. We hear opinions expressed that these days the office of the Attorney General of India is not an easy one to hold. Well, if you read Mr. M.C. Settlebart's book, Law and Other Things, which I would recommend for all of you to read, you will come to the definite conclusion that the Office of Attorney General of India is an office that calls for great equanimity, balance, and courage from the holder of this office, which Mr. Venkatramani has in plenty. Interestingly, in the early 60s, there was a very serious proposal to disband the Office of the Attorney General and to merge it with the Office of the Law Minister. It is recorded by Mr. M.C. Settlebard in his biography, Law and Other Things, that it was the Madras Bar that was the first to raise its voice in protest against this proposal. Subsequently, many other associations also joined the protest, on account of which this ill-advised proposal was abandoned. So, sir, the office of the Attorney General owes much to the Madras Bar, which ensured its survival. It is interesting that in today's function, in the same breath, we will be felicitating a person who has reached one of the pinnacles of the legal profession, and at the same time welcoming a whole group of youngsters who will be stepping into the portals of this profession. That presents an interesting challenge to the speakers of the function, and we will do the best to discharge the duty cast on us in the best manner possible. If one were to be asked to describe the persona of Mr. Venkatramani, the phrase that would most aptly apply to him is that he is a gentle scholar. The great thinker Friedrich Hegel observed, the learner always begins by finding fault, but the scholar sees the positive merit in everything. Mr. Venkatramani belongs to that rare class of lawyers who would see the merits in not only the case that he is arguing, but also in the case of his opponent, and try to deal with it fair and square. He has never known to lose his temper and has never known to become ruffled during the course of an argument. We have all heard the famous debate between Mandana Mishra and Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara's philosophy laid the paths for human beings to step out of the confines of mere rituals and to rise to a higher degree of spiritual emancipation. He won over scholars all over India with his debating skills, which you must all try to emulate. And it is in this process that he began a debate with Mandana Mishra, who was himself a renowned scholar but a dedicated ritualist. Mandana Mishra gave Adi Shankara the choice of choosing a judge to decide the winner of the debate between them. In those days, there was no collegium system or there was no NJAC. So very easily, Adi Shankara said that Mandana Mishra's wife will be the judge in the debate. Udaya Bharati, wife of Mandana Mishra, therefore was chosen to be a judge between the debate between Adi Shankara and Mandana Mishra. But Udaya Bharati had to set a very objective standard to decide, because otherwise she will be accused of bias. So she said both speakers to wear a flower garland. And she said that I will decide the winner on the basis of what happens to this flower garland. So the story proceeds that Adi Shankara won the debate because Mandana Mishra's garland wilted. Udaya Bharati believed that if a person was not convinced about the merits of his own arguments or his assertions in a debate, he would become angry. And if he became angry, the temperature of his body would rise. This is possibly why we call it a heated debate. And if the temperature of the body increases, the flowers will wilt. If such a test were to be applied to Mr. Venkatramani, I would assure you all, the flowers in the garland will never wilt. Because he is never known to have lost his temper, and that arises from a strong conviction and the belief in the strength of the arguments that he puts forth. Now let me try to combine the first part of the task assigned to me, that is felicitation to the learned Attorney General, with the task of welcoming the youngsters who have been enrolled today. I will do that by placing 5 aspects that you can learn from Mr. Venkatramani's advocacy and emulate them in your career. First, scholarship. It is from Mr. Venkatramani that you must learn that scholarship and pursuit of true knowledge are the rungs in the ladder that can truly take you to the pinnacle of the profession. His library in New Delhi is reputed to be one of the finest legal libraries in Delhi. And it is this commitment to the pursuit of pure knowledge that has led him to the zenith of the profession. This is something that all of you must learn from him. Secondly, try to be healers of conflict and not warriors of conflict. Many step into the profession with the ill-conceived notion that it is the job of the advocate to fight his case well. However, a lawyer actually reaches the height of his professional ability not when he is a warrior of conflict, but when he is a healer of conflict. Mr. Venkatramani, I know practically in every case he appears, tries to mediate and settle a conflict rather than aggravate it through arguments. This again is an important lesson for you to learn. Third, always be courteous to everybody at the bar. Even in the face of grave provocation, a good lawyer never loses his capacity to stay cool and to think objectively. Differences and disagreements are inherent to the job of an advocate. நீங்கள் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க இல்லையா, அந்த திருவிளையாடல் படத்தில் அந்த பாண்டிய மன்னன் சொல்லுவார், புலமைக்கு சர்ச்சை தேவைதானால் அதுவே சண்டையாக மாறிவிடக்கூடாது. அதே மாதிரி வக்கீல் பொழப்புலையும் சர்ச்சை தேவைதான், சர்ச்சை எல்லா கேஸ்லையும் இருக்கும், ஆனால் அதுவே சண்டையாக மாறிவிடக்கூடாது. Therefore, you must remember that you will be doing what you are doing is only your job, and the other side is also trying to do his job to the best of his ability. Fourth, before you become a good lawyer, learn to be a good human being. It is essential for us to always remember that it is the person who wrote a petition instead of throwing a stone that invented civilization. Refinement and culture have always been the hallmarks of a good lawyer. It is said of Early Norton, who was one of the famous and renowned advocates of the Madras High Court, that anybody who met him would always walk away saying, what a refined and cultured man. I'm sure that you will say the same if you spend 10 minutes with Mr. Venkatramani. Always have a real and true assessment of the merits of your case. This is another lesson that you have to learn. I have always observed that Mr. Venkatramani never fills himself with false assumptions relating to the merits of the case. It is always realistic, and I am sure that he only places the merits of the case in a fair manner before the court, but also advises his client accordingly. So these are the 5 aspects that I would request you to emulate from the life of Mr. Venkatramani. உங்களுக்கெல்லாம் Father Xavier Arulraj, my friend Mr. Balu, சந்திரசேகர் இவங்கெல்லாம் ரொம்ப அற்புதமாக சொன்னாங்க. இந்த தொழிலில் நீங்கள் முன்னேறதுக்கு 3 விஷயங்கள் தான் தேவை. முதல், அறிவு பசி. தினம் படிக்கணும், தினம் ஏதாவது புதுசாக கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்ற ஒரு அறிவு பசி. இரண்டாவதாக தொழில் மேல் நீங்கள் காட்டும் ஒரு ஈடுபாடு. மூன்றாவதாக உழைக்கும் தன்மை. இது மூணு இருந்ததுன்னா this profession has not disappointed anybody. As an example of this and as a model of this, we have statues inside the High Court. முத்துசாமியரோட ஸ்டாச்சு இருக்குது. உங்களுக்கெல்லாம் தெரியும், அவர் வீட்டில் எவ்வளவு ஏழ்மைன்னா திரி வாங்கிறதுக்கும் எண்ணெய் வாங்கிறதுக்கும் கூட பணம் கிடையாது. அதனால் அவர் தெரு வடக்கு கீழே உட்கார்ந்துட்டு படித்தார். ஆனால் அவர் after he passed away, do you know what happened? The British Parliament observed 2 minutes silence in memory of the great Indian jurist who passed away. Then you have the statue of Dr. Ambedkar. Nobody's life can be more difficult than that for Dr. Ambedkar. But he went on to give us a constitution. Do you know that the Constitution of India has survived for more than 70 years and is one of the most respected documents in the world, which was all the product of the brain of Dr. Ambedkar. You may not know that only 17% of all the constitutions of India are more than 50 years and more old. And only 7% of the constitution have not even seen their second birthday. In such situation, to create a document that has served us well for more than 70 years must be truly the product of a remarkable mind. Sir, I thank you for being here with us today. எனக்கு வந்து, like my senior, Mr. Govind Swaminathan, who is a very good family friend, I would like to leave a thought with you because Mr. Govind Swaminathan, whenever he gave a speech, if you read his speech, he would have made an appeal to some aspect of public interest. Like that, let me leave an aspect for you to consider. Please persuade the central government to create a constitutional center. There are several countries in the world which have a constitution center. Unfortunately, the Constitution of India has become a legal document, whereas it should be a people's document. So to convert a legal document to a people's document, the first step forward is to create American Center of the Constitution. Is one of the finest institutions where you can learn so much about the Constitution. And therefore, you can persuade the central government to start a center for constitutional studies. And it is not necessary that everything national must be in Delhi. You can also persuade them to situate that constitutional center at Chennai. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And thank you all for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you. சின்ன பசங்களுக்கெல்லாம் அட்வைஸ் பிடிக்காது. நான் சொன்னதெல்லாம் ஒரு நண்பன் உங்கள்கிட்ட சொன்னதாக நினைத்து கொண்டு, நான் சொன்னது உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது பிடிக்கலைன்னா மன்னிச்சிருங்க. தேங்க்யூ.